Okay, I'm sharing my screen.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Fine. When you say, sorry, yeah. So when we talk about HAZCAM, it's nothing but hazardous chemicals EAC, emergency action code. So as I mentioned, it helps us to react on in case of any emergency situations. So when we talk about this HAZCAM, so it is an emergency action code confirmed by Health and Safety Executive UK. It consists of number of 1 to 4 followed by 1 or 2 letters, which means it will have one numerical number or 1 or 2 alphabets. And it signifies type of extinguisher required, a type of personal protective equipment required, whether the spillage should be contained or diluted with water, and whether the material is reactive, and also whether evacuation of surroundings area is necessary or not. So these kind of information which will give this EAC, emergency action code. So if you see in the right side corner where we have this 3YE, that is how it will be, they will represent on the chemical tankers, they can understand. So when I say 3, so we can use a foam for this specific chemical because hence it is flammable liquid. Then when I say Y, so here in case of breathing operators required. When it's Y means here the protection is breathing operators required. When it is indicates V in the sense violently can react or it can have an explosive nature. Okay, and E indicates evacuation is required in case of any accident happen with this chemical. When you see this 3YE, so here we have taken sodium cyanide is 4x and vinyl chloride is 2WE. So when I say 2WE, 2 indicates we need use the fog, the water. Then W indicates here we need a full protection, which means when I say full, it is in a full body protection required along with breathing operators.
Sir, BA means, sir, BA for fire only.
The BA fire only in the sense whenever fire happens, then only you need breathing apparatus. BA means breathing operator. So if you see,
Okay, sir,
whenever
okay.
indicates a Z, so only BA. So in this specific chemical, it indicates any YE, for example, 3YE. So here it is in a BA for fire only. In case of any fire incident happens, or if the chemical is involved in fire, then only you need breathing apparatus. Otherwise, not required.
Okay, sir. Full means all BP required.
When we say full body protection, it will have complete. So mostly it will be have with corrosive chemicals or any reactive chemicals, radioactive chemicals, where we suggest full body protection. You will have a full suit, including breathing apparatus. Okay. Then whenever if you see our chemical is, I am taking the example of this 3YE. The Y, it indicates we have to contain the chemical. And some of the chemicals, here is another example, W. I think W also we have to contain. I think if it is in a 4X sodium cyanide also, we have to contain the chemical. Some of the chemicals can be diluted. There it can see. So the category which explains the material needs to be diluted. These are the indicators. If you ask me why it is there is no A, B, C and all, I didn't also have an answer. This is category how they have defined, and B indicates the violenceness or it can able to catch fire, and these are the protections measures, and also substance control. When I say substance control, how you can handle the material either by diluting or containing it. Okay, this is how this hazard Hazakam EAC emergency action code will help us on firefighting. So if it is here, you need not to refer the complete 16-page MSDS. By seeing this code, okay, you should have understanding of this table. Then immediately you can take actions. Okay. Then ADR, it is an agreement concerning to carriage of dangerous goods. It is basically the ADR number indicates about the dangerous goods requirements. It is in the European agreement was arrived in Geneva by 19 European countries for safety of the international transport by road. It deals with classification of hazardous substances, their packaging, loading, unloading, transportation, and its equipments. So basically, it gives the identification numbers in United Nations hazard class number. It comprises of explosives, the UN number one, gases, compressed gases or liquids, flammable solids, oxidizing substances. Then the ADR number will be the emissions of the gas due to the pressure or flammability of the liquids or vapors or gases. Then flammability of the gases, oxidizing substances, toxicity, corrosivity, or risk of spontaneous violations. It is the ADR number indication. It talks about uh, transportation purpose. When EAC talks about emergency action purpose, then CAS number talks about the identification of the chemical. It didn't give any information with respect to hazards or any emergency action. And we'll see more. I mean, appearance and state and order we have seen in the physical and chemical properties of the chemical. So this appearance includes color. State means physical state or solid, liquid, or gases. The order indicates smell, as we know. And other threshold is the minimum level of ppm, where the order will start, or the order threshold is lower than the permissible safe limit. Example: TLV, STEL, ideal situations, or lethal concentration. Then order also indicates the presence of gas or some safety margins is available to run away to take precautionary steps. Sometimes if the order indicates, what indicates, for example, if LPC is leaking in our home, so it gives an immediate alert, "Yaar, the gas leak ho raha hai," we have to immediately shut off the regulator. So it gives us a chance to take a precautionary step. But if it is higher, the gas becomes toxic or hazardous before its order starts and his condition is risky. Sometimes what will happen? Nitrogen. If nitrogen leaking in a closed atmosphere, so what will happen? It is an orderless. So your life will be under risk. In that event, reliable gas detectors are useful. Sometimes order is added to detect the gas leakage. Example, addition of mercaptan in the domestic LPG, and ability to detect orders may vary from person to person and may mislead if other orders materials are simultaneously present. So for in case of any uh, orderless chemicals, so there we can utilize the detectors to detect the chemicals, and sometimes the order is to detect by gas leakage by mercaptan, and also uh, one more chemical for the uh, chlorine leakage. I'm not getting it. Starts with H. Hypo, yeah, hypo solution. We use a hypo solution to detect the leakage of chlorine cylinders. And sometimes what will happen in case of any multiple orders are there, it will be difficulty to the guess which order is belongs to which chemical. That will be in a critical situation. We have to alert immediately. Then specific gravity. So always we compare with water. So water specific gravity is 1. So basically it is in a ratio of the density of the material to the density of the water. So it is in a simple comparison between comparing with the water. So when you say lighter materials, so it will be less than 1, which is benzene 0.88. So whenever the specific gravity of the material, which means the weight of the material, which is less than the water, it will get floats on water. When it is heavier material, it will automatically sinks. Sulfuric acid, it will sink because the gravity of the material, I mean the weight of the material is 1.84, which is higher than the water specific gravity. Benzene, it is 0.8. Even petrol, diesel, oils, which are lighter than water, so you could see they will be floating on surface of the water. So basically, this information is useful for the spill or fire control. So how this information suitable or useful for spill or fire control? Fire control. Any guess? Any relation with fire control with specific gravity? Hmm? What happened? How it is linking with specific gravity? Any example? Maybe okay, fine. No worries. So benzene is a corrosive chemical as well as it is having flammability nature also. So whenever benzene involved in the fire accident, or can I use water there to extinguish the fire? Water use checha? Benzene. రామకృష్ణ చెప్పండి.
యూజ్ చేయకూడదండి.
యూజ్ చేయకూడదు.
నాకు
పర్ఫెక్ట్ ఆన్సర్. ఎందుకు యూజ్ చేయకూడదండి?
బెంజిన్ హై డెన్సిటీ అండి. దానికి ఓన్లీ ఏమంటారు మెకానికల్ ఫోమ్ మాత్రం యూజ్ చేయాలి. డీసీ పర్ మెకానికల్ ఫోమ్ సార్.
సో బేసిక్ గా ఏమవుతుందంటే
వాటర్ యూజ్ చేస్తే అంటే స్ప్రెడ్ అవ్వడానికి ఛాన్స్ ఉంటుందండి.
పర్ఫెక్ట్. ఇప్పుడు దారిలోకి వచ్చారు మీరు. సో బేసిక్ గా వెనెవర్ ఎనీ కెమికల్ విచ్ ఈస్
గ్రావిటీ ఎక్కువ సార్, స్పెసిఫిక్ గ్రావిటీ ఎక్కువ కదండి.
ఎక్కువగా తక్కువ వాటర్
అదే
ఎక్కువ కదా.
అదే మామూలుగా
వాటర్ ఎక్కువ
కాబట్టి వాటర్ కిందకి వెళ్ళిపోయి సాల్వెంట్ పైకి
సాల్వెంట్ అనేది పైకి లేయర్ గా ఫార్మ్ అయ్యి దానివల్ల మనకు వాటర్ స్ప్రే చేసేటప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, స్ప్రెడ్ అవ్వడానికి ఛాన్స్ ఉంటుందండి. అది ఫైర్ కంట్రోల్ అవ్వదండి ఇమీడియట్లీ.
కరెక్ట్. ఏమవుతుందంటే వాటర్ కొట్టినప్పుడు అది అక్కడ ఇక్కడ పడి అన్ని చోట్ల మండుతుంది, లేదంటే ఇంకా ఫైర్ ఎక్కువ స్ప్రెడ్ అయ్యేదానికి ఆస్కారం ఉంటుంది. దట్ ఈస్ వై ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ important, specific gravity. So accordingly we have to choose the suitable extinguishing medium. So here, as mentioned Ramakrishna, we can use foam so that it can create in a blanket over the spillage. It will cut off the oxygen so that the fire can be extinguished. Okay, good. Okay, let us back to the presentation again. Then vapor density. So specific gravity we mapped with the water. So vapor density we map with the air. So when I use air is equal to 1, the density, I mean the weight. The vapor weight as per the volume in MSDS, it is given as the ratio of density of the gas or vapor to the density of the air. The air density is 1.29 grams per liter, but here it is considered as 1 for easy comparison. The lighter gases, when I say lighter gases, ammonium, which is 0.59, what will happen? Will go up. For the heavier gases, which is chlorine, LPG, will come down. When we say come down, where it will settle?
ఫ్లోర్ మీద
Heavier
సెటిల్
gases. Ram Lakshmana Reddy, yes.
అది ఫ్లోర్ మీద సెటిల్ అవుతుంది కాబట్టి డౌన్ లో వెళ్తుంది కాబట్టి మనం అప్కి వెళ్ళాలి సార్ సేఫ్టీకి.
ఓకే, ఫ్లోర్ లో ఉంటుంది ఫ్లోర్ లెవెల్లో ఉంటుంది కాబట్టి మనం అప్కి వెళ్ళాలి. ఓకే, దట్ ఈస్ అన్ ఎవాక్యుయేషన్ ప్రిన్సిపల్. ఓకే, any other answers? There are so many, I mean, examples we can take.
అండ్ అనదర్ వన్ ఈజ్ వాటర్తో స్ప్రే చేసిన క్లాత్ ఏదైనా ఉంటే దాన్ని మనం ప్రొటెక్టింగ్ కింద నోస్ మాస్క్ కింద వాడుకోవాలి సార్. క్లోరిన్ కి అయితే
Okay,
క్లోరిన్ కైనా.
okay. What about others? Thanks, Lakshmana Reddy.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
Any other answers? How vapor density will help us in case of any emergency? So as Ram Lakshmana Reddy mentioned that chlorine is having high density, then the high vapor density, then the water. That's why we used to have this chlorine storage facilities far away from the buildings, or it will have separate building. We can't store chlorine in the high levels. So if we store chlorine in floor to floor, what will happen? So it will come to the first floor, second floor, and also ground floor. It will settle in the ground floor because it is heavier than air. Even LPG also, it is heavier than air. So it is also always tends to settle in the negative heights. When I say negative heights, they try to settle in the gutters, they try to settle in the pits, they try to settle in the water tanks, or they try to settle in any negative heights. అంటే నీకు అక్కడ ఉన్న ఫ్లోర్ లెవెల్ కంటే ఏది తక్కువ హైట్లో ఉంటే అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి సెటిల్ అయిపోతూ ఉంటాయి పాకెట్స్లో. సో వై ఇట్ ఈస్ ఇంపార్టెంట్? ఇట్ ఈస్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ for the design of ventilation and also evacuation purpose. Lakshmana Reddy has given, for example, once it is denser or heavier than air, we can go to the upward so that we can able to safeguard ourselves. Then with respect to ventilation, if you see, if you are in your organization, any LPG bank or chlorine storage, there you will have this exhaust or ventilation systems which is very close to the floor level. For example, I'll just take a minute. If you assume this is your floor level, this is your floor, and immediately you will have your exhaust systems at the bottom. You will install this way. so that whatever the fumes which is generated, which will be taken out by immediately. Otherwise, if you are using an ammonia storage, you will have your exhaust on the top of the shed, so that it is lighter. Immediately it will suck, then it will take it to the scrubber. Okay, so that's it. The vapor density is useful for two situations. One is emergency evacuation purpose, and the second purpose is design of ventilation. Ventilation is nothing but exhaust systems. Either my exhaust suctions are should be close to the surface level, or I have to install on the top of the shed based on the vapor density of the material which I am storing in that specific shed. Okay, then boiling point. I think it is known to everybody. Boiling point is nothing but water is or liquid is converted or turns to a gaseous state. That is nothing but a boiling point. Water boiling point is 100 degree centigrade. So it is basically temperature at which the material changes from liquid to gas. So below this point, the liquid can evaporate to form a vapor, but the boiling point changes from liquids to vapor is faster. So below this boiling point level also, it can convert the water into vapor. But at this stage, once the water reaches 100 degrees centigrade, the evaporation rate will be faster. So basically, this increases the evaporation concentration and its pressure. This condition is poses high risk of fire and explosion or toxicity in case of any chemical which is reaches to a boiling point. Then melting point, again it is going to a temperature at which a solid material melts and become a liquid. So for example, ice. If it is in the refrigerator, it will be in a solid state. When it is comes out of refrigerator, it will starts melting. That is a melting point. Okay. Then freezing point. So if you know freezing point, again same. It is in a negative temperatures. I mean low temperatures. The water will be. I mean I'm taking the water as an example for easy understanding. Liquids will convert into a solid or frozen state. It is a temperature at which the liquid materials freezes and becomes solid. This information is useful for storage and handling purposes. Frozen materials may burst the container. Okay, sometimes it happens. Then vapor pressure. So again, it is a pressure mm for H upon temperature atmosphere pressure of a material. It is fixed temperature 20 degrees. Higher vapor pressure indicates higher concentration and therefore higher hazards due to the fire and inhalation. Okay. Then solubility. So solubility is simple. So solubility is nothing but whether it is soluble in water or not. Okay. If you see sugar, generally we are in summer now. We used to drink a lot of lemon water or other juices. We use so much of sugar. So sugar also, water also will have a certain level of solubility. So when you say solubility, it can able to, for example, if you take 1 glass of water, it can able to dissolve to 4 spoons or 5 spoons of sugar. So if you are keep on adding 1 glass of water, you are keep on adding half kg of sugar. To certain level, it will dissolve. After that, I mean, able to dissolve it. Later point of time, it can't able to dissolve that sugar because it is over the limit of the solubility of the water. It is an ability of metal to dissolve in water or other liquids or solvent. It may be expressed on ratio described by the words like insoluble, very soluble, springily soluble, or mist-soluble. So these are the different ways we can define the chemical. This information is useful to decide the scrubbing medium. So when I say solubility, we can choose the suitable scrubbing medium so that in case of any fumes or vapors which is diverted to the scrubbing medium or any spill control, firefighting materials and procedures, solvent should not be hazardous. Okay. For scrubbing material, solubility will check. For the vapor density, it is suitable for ventilation design. For the emergency action, we have emergency action code, I mean HAZCAM code. For CAS number, it is identification of material. It is in a unique number, like it is kind of an Aadhaar number for chemical. Okay, that is how we can use this information. Then pH, it is a measure of acidity or alkalinity, like a base of the material. So when you say pH, a number of the hydrogen ions in the material, so it will have a range of 0 to 14. So 0 to strong acid, 5 will be weak acid, 6 to 8 is neutral, 9 to 11 is weak base, and 12 to 14 pH indicates it is a strong base. Then flash point, it is also very important. So it is again the lowest temperature.
Sir, what is the
Basically,
what is the full form of pH?
huh?
What is the full form of pH? pH.
The presence of hydrogen ions in the material.
Okay. And what is alkalinity? Alkalinity.
Alkalinity is nothing but base. So acid will be corrosive kind of material, bases will be water and similar kind of materials.
Okay.
Yeah. Then flash point, it is in a lowest temperature at which a material gives off enough vapor near its surface. అంటే అతి తక్కువ టెంపరేచర్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ పెట్రోల్ ఉంది, నార్మల్ ambient టెంపరేచర్ అంటే సమ్మర్లో కాకపోయినా వింటర్లో కూడా మీరు ఒక పెట్రోల్ని ఒక బౌల్లో పోసి పెడితే అది వేపర్స్ జనరేట్ చేస్తూ ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఏ టెంపరేచర్ దగ్గర, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ 5 degrees దగ్గర కానీ 6 degrees దగ్గర కానీ it is creating enough vapor to form a flammable mixture or vapor near the surface of the liquid. Then that temperature we call it as a flash point. So when you say flash point, it creates gives off enough vapor near its surface to form a flammable air vapor or gas mixture so that it can be ignited if any spark available. The lower flash point indicates higher hazards, which means whenever we say lower flash point, it is higher hazard because at low temperatures also it is having capability to produce a flammable mixture. As it can be cause a fire at lower temperatures, it expressed as closed cup CC or open cup. CC value is slightly less than the OC values. When it says CC, so in the closed cup, when you are keeping material inside a closed cup and you are measuring it, the temperature at temperature it is giving. When it's open cup, it is in a plain sheet of cup where it is exposed to the atmosphere. Then auto ignition temperature. So the word itself, it is self-explanatory. So when I say auto ignition, again it is the lowest temperature at which a material begins to burn in air without any contact of spark or flame. So here you need not to have any external temperature or external heat or external agent. So because of the temperature in the atmosphere itself, it can able to ignite the material. During heating, the material decomposes and decomposed chemical may auto ignite at some other temperatures. Different test methods gives the different auto ignition temperatures for the same material. Therefore, this value is an estimate. Basically, we have different kinds of tests. So this auto ignition temperature is an estimation value, but flash point is not like that. It is an accurate values. So whenever you have an auto ignition temperatures, whenever you have such kind of materials where they can catch fire, so those materials should be stored in processed or handled well below its auto ignition temperatures to avoid the risk of self fire or explosion, substance liable to spontaneous combustion, or those liable to spontaneous heating under normal conditions, or heating up on contact with air, and also being then liable to catch fire. So if you see last line, heating upon contact with air. So here we can take an example of sodium. So sodium we used to handle on the immersion conditions, oil immersed conditions. అంటే oil లో పెట్టి దాన్ని స్టోర్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాం. So it is highly react with water moisture resistant. So atmosphere లో రాగానే అది రియాక్ట్ అయి పేలిపోతుంది బాంబు మాదిరి. So you should take utmost care in case of such chemicals if you are handling in your premises. Then trump card, so transport emergency card. So I think who are working in the industry, they are mostly well familiar with this trump card. So basically it is used to understand the type of material, and it is mostly useful to handle the emergency situations. So this trump card will be given for the waste wherever you are transporting, and also certain chemicals transportation as well. This card contains short information like nature of chemical and what are the hazards associated with.
Sir, one question, sir, related to this.
Yeah.
From where do we fill this data, sir? Is it MSDS? From
From
where
the
we
MSDS
can
only. Yes, from the MSDS only.
Okay, sir. Sometimes we used to dispose of used oil, like synthetic and mineral oil milake.
Okay.
Then for used oil, we are getting doubt what we need to fill here. Like what are the hazards? Like flammable लिखने का या क्या है?
So, I mean, the nature of the, used oil. For example, if you see in the used oil, the properties will not change, because whenever we are taking out of from the equipment, basically it degrades its quality, but definitely it will burn. You can write only the flammable nature only. You can't write it is inflammable or less hazardous.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are protective devices, sir, then?
So when you say protective devices, in the sense firefighting, or sometimes what will happen is hazardous containers or vehicles, they'll have some beads also. In case of small leakages and all, they used to carry the pegs or wooden pegs to stop the leakage, etc. All these will comes under emergency equipment devices or protective devices.
Like secondary containment, sir?
Secondary containment will not be there, because the tanker is in a huge quantity. I mean, 10,000 liter, 20,000 liter, 40,000 liter. Secondary containment will not be there. Only the minimum, any pinholes or any leakage at the valve area. In those areas, they used to have the emergency kit to contain those small spills.
Okay, sir. Like we will transport in 220 barrels, sir. Oil barrels रहता है ना, crude oil barrels.
Okay.
उसी में transport करते हैं.
For that, I don't think so. I mean, they will carry anything. You have to ensure that you have tighten the cap properly.
Okay.
And if you send it with any secondary containment, if the supplier is having, that is well and good. Okay. Otherwise, it is not in our control.
Just normal truck में 220 barrels रहता है ना सर, उसमें भर के हम दे देते हैं.
हाँ, वही हाँ.
Right, sir.
Okay. Fine. So mostly these, HAZCAM we use for the waste and also chemicals. Mostly, I seen for the waste we used to return. Otherwise, for the chemicals which we manufactured, we used to have the MSDS. For the waste, it is unknown because there is no we don't know the specific properties. We'll write based on the our experiences and also the type of materials which is involved in that waste. So accordingly, we'll write the nature of the material. Okay, I'm stopping here. We have 15 seconds. We can continue from trump card from tomorrow's class.